The storm whipped up across the sky, and the divine picture of heavenly mandate rose to the air, consuming the will of the great path all over the place and multiplying in a frenzy. The storm whipped up across the sky, and the divine picture of heavenly mandate rose to the air, consuming the will of the great path all over the place and multiplying in a frenzy. Boundless killing currents shot at Gu Donglu right away. Yet, he simply shot a glance at the currents and pointed forward. The symbol of Lin appeared, and the huge ancient symbol stood tall in the sky, shrouding the killing currents right away, preventing the currents from moving. However, the killing currents did not seem to have an end to them, causing the symbol to tremble. It looked as if it was about to crumble. What was even more terrifying was that as the divine picture of heavenly mandate multiplied, a Qinqiu brush gave manifested right away and dropped straight down. Yi Tianyu pointed into the air at the brush. The brush drew one stroke and crushed that symbol of Lin, which was already about to crumble. The Qinqiu brush felt like a divine brush of the great path, weighing thousands of pounds. It could pin down landscapes and tear through space. Boundless killing currents cut down, intending to destroy the space where Gu Donglu was right then and there. Celestial light glittered on the Juetian diagram. A huge beam of celestial light shot to the air, and an incredibly huge symbol of Bing circled about the screen of light. The symbol clashed with the brush and burst with extremely brilliant celestial light. Yi Tianyu remained unfazed and kept his eyes forward. The divine picture of heavenly mandate continued to multiply in the air. One brush after another materialized one after another. Many brushes were seen right above Gu Donglio's head at the same time. Every single brush contained extremely potent killing current. The brush reigning supreme through the eras. Yi Tianyu muttered this, and his voice sounded like divine sound of the great path. The brushes in the sky resonated, and they all swiped in the sky at the same time. Every single brush tore through the sky, as if someone was trying to bring the sky down with the brushes. The Qinqiu brushes moved in a disorderly and unpredictable manner. It was as if they were simply left to do their own thing without control. Yet the messy strokes seemed as if they were out to cut the sky to pieces. Such was the power of the brush reigning supreme through the eras. Crack! A snappy cracking noise was heard, and the screen of light was no more. The terrifying strokes lashed out at Gu Donglu, intending to destroy the place where he was. So that is the true power of the Qinqiu brush. The minds of all who saw it were rattled. The Qinqiu performed far better at the hands of Yi Tianyu, the crown prince of heavenly mandate dynasty, than how it had been when the nine used the divine sound. It was as if the power of the move was fused with the great path, and the great path seemed to be about to break when cut. The clan leader of the Jiang clan watched the fight quietly at the celestial gate. It was just as he expected. That crown prince was already at the pinnacle when it came to proficiency with offensive arts. His innate talents and his years spent in training in secret made his attacks unshakable, showcasing his master-grade proficiency as soon as he made a move. The dynastic overlord of heavenly mandate dynasty lauded the crown prince to be one born to reign supreme, and he did not do so with mere intent to boast. It would have reflected very badly on him if things turned out differently after all. While the battle had just begun, what Yi Tianyu showcased without breaking a sweat looked extremely surreal. Gu Donglu was then seen performing hand seals, causing the Juetian diagram to unleash towering celestial light, circling around him, and there seemed to be a true mystical being right behind him. Holy light shrouded his entire body, and as he continued to perform the seals, one mystical shadow after another emerged from the Juetian diagram at the same time. All of those shadows unleashed impregnable will. It was as if they were manifestations of divine weapons. The ancient symbol of Bing circled around him, causing the surrounding air to shake. The shadows took to the sky in a mere instant, transforming into divine weapons and blasted at the incoming Qinqiu brushes in the air. The Qinqiu brushes were then right above Gu Donglio's head, and the boundless divine weapons blasted at them. Devastating storm of slaughter raged right above his head at that moment, radiating terrifying divine light. The Qinqiu brushes and the divine weapons continued to crumble, destroyed, and dissipated in that terrifying clash. Both parties were formidable. The crowd looked at the two geniuses, finding that their life spirits alone were more than enough to overwhelm an untold number of mighty ones. It was even thought that only a handful of saints would have been able to withstand such attacks from their life spirits. The attacks of Yi Tianyu, the crown prince, were fended off, yet he hardly looked fettered. He flashed and came to the air above, his back against the divine picture of heavenly mandate. It was as if his body fused directly with his life spirit. He extended his hand, and the divine picture of heavenly mandate spun, consuming boundless slaughtering way. It was as if there was boundless slaughtering lightning falling down onto his extended hand. A Qianqiu brush, which seemed to have existed for several millennia, fell into his hand. He took hold of the brush. Voom! A bolt of lightning tore through the sky. Yi Tianyu disappeared with the brush at the same time. There seemed to be a huge gash in the sky. Gu Donglu sensed an intense looming danger. The mystical shadows gathered, and with his palms closed, the divine weapons howled as they tore through the space. Thousands of killing currents rained down in an instant. It was as if thousands of beams of divine light rained down. The scene was utterly harrowing. It was as if it was able to tear the sky down in an instant. The explosiveness of the move was nothing short of terrifying, causing the hearts of those who witnessed the scene to shake violently. Crack! Countless divine weapons crumbled, and a brush was seen swiped down right before Gu Donglu, with Yi Tianyu seen on the other end of the brush. The Juetian diagram burst with towering celestial light in an instant, and a stifled rumble was heard in the air. Gu Donglio's body was thrown below, and boundless killing currents burst through his Juetian diagram, as if they were to tear it apart. Yi Tianyu lowered his head to look at Gu Donglu, who was thrown behind, and said, "I wonder just how capable Gu Tianxing and Gu Jiangnan had been all those years ago. It is a pity that they are no longer in this era." Everyone was able to tell from his words just how arrogant that crown prince was, behaving as if even both of them were in the same era as he was, he would have been able to overwhelm them all the same. Gu Donglu looked up in the sky. He, too, knew what he lacked when compared to Yi Tianyu. He had yet to be able to finish processing all the powers he had been bestowed with, and he did not have time to train the most powerful of attacks available. At that moment, he was simply able to consolidate all the bits that he had acquired, and has broken through the plane of holiness of nirvana with them. In truth, the clan leader's concern had been valid. His plane was still unstable. If that fight were to be postponed, he would have had gained a greater advantage. But then again, what was to come would have come all the same. Even if he had yet to process everything that he gained at the Origin Mountains, that battle was still one he could not afford to lose. It had little to do with the significance of the outcome of the battle, and more to do with him being unable to bring himself to face his predecessors, if he were to lose that battle. The celestial light on the Juetian diagram became even more dazzling. The mystical shadow behind Gu Donglu grew even more glittering. He unleashed his will, shrouding the Juetian diagram, which shuddered. In that instant, there seemed to be many demonic beasts appearing on the diagram, arriving as they were summoned. Thousands of demonic beasts howled as the Juetian diagram continued to be at work. Demonic auras filled the sky as the demonic beasts danced and raged. Gu Donglu inherited the laws of origin, and there were untold numbers of wills of demon emperors throughout the vast Origin Mountains that ended up consumed by him. After all, the howling demons signified their rage, and there seemed to be a feral grace to Gu Donglio's face. He looked up and shot a glance at the sky. Thousands of demonic beasts howled as they tore through the sky, heading straight for Yi Tianyu. The falling killing currents were destroyed in a frenzy. Yi Tianyu held onto the Qianqiu brush. He looked as if he was going to be overwhelmed by the demonic beasts. The Qianqiu brush in Yi Tianyu's hand swiped at the sky again, and the incoming demonic beasts crumbled right away under the might of his Qianqiu brush. However, the demonic beasts seemed to charge without end, heading straight for the crown prince and burying him in that space. The divine picture of heavenly mandate continued to shift, transforming into a Kuanpeng, which then merged with the crown prince's body. He took the form of a Kuanpeng while, at the same time, the light of Kuanpeng burst from with the divine picture of heavenly mandate. He then spread his wings and attacked, as if he commanded the divine might of Kuanpeng. The art of heavenly mandate, Many muttered deep down as they watched the scene before them. That was the ultimate move created by the founder of the dynasty. And that spell had once been known as the number spell in all of the Heavenly Mandate realm, which was said to be invincible in the Heavenly Mandate realm. He had once used the ability in the battle back in the Violet Heavenly Palace. And at present, the art of Heavenly Mandate was seen being used again. A loud cry was heard, as if a true Kuimping had arrived at the scene. The being then spread its wings open, blocking the sky, then swooped down. Shadows of Kuimping burst from the diagram at the same time, cutting down at the sky in a furious slaughter, destroying countless shadows of demonic beasts. The Kuimping form of Tianyu tore through the demonic beasts. The rain of divine golden light cut through the demonic beasts, while still holding onto the Qianqiu brush with its claw. Gu Dongliu's aura faltered. That was a major attack from a true Kuimping. Everything that Tianyu had picked up was a very formidable attack. However, Gu Dongliu's expression remained steely. The name of his diagram, Juetian, was taken from the fact that it was the pinnacle of the mystical ways, with its power reigning supreme over all mystical ways. He continued to step out in the air. The Juetian diagram continued to work and shine boundless divine light onto his body, which resonated with him. Boundless mystical shadows appeared at the same time around his body. The aura all about him coursed within him as well. The light of the 9 symbols glittered as they merged within his body. Gu Donglu truly resonated with the Juetian diagram at that point. Despite the fact that he had yet to train in the top attacks, his teacher once said that overwhelming might triumphed over all techniques. When one's spiritual power resonated with pure force, and everything reached the very peak, where one discarded all unrelated thoughts and left all skills and techniques behind, one would have been able to bring the greatest of attacks to bear. He stepped out and tore through the air, arriving right before that huge creature that tore through the demonic beasts. He extended his finger, which contained immeasurable power, and clashed with the incoming Qianqiu brush. The space around both of them exploded in a frenzy. Tianyu brought the wings of the Kuimping down upon Gu Donglu. The light of the 9 symbols glowed extremely brilliantly. They burst with the brightest of rays at the same time, which blinded all who saw it. The light caused the wings of the Kuimping to slow. It was like a will of strength unlike any other that resonated with his surroundings. That one finger was to destroy everything in its path. Gu Donglu, at that moment, looked as if he was some celestial being. Boom! A stifled rumble was heard, and the spectators saw Tianyu, the crown prince, be flung far above, forced away by the might from one finger of Gu Donglu. One finger against the Qianqiu brush. The hearts of all continued to race. That was confidence and recklessness unlike any other. The great divine diagrams faced off against each other, and brought terrifying powers to bear, bringing about massive explosions between them. A devastating storm of the great path whipped up between both men, making the scene look extremely harrowing. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. They're fighting up close and personal. They're fighting up close and personal? The hearts of the spectators raced. At that moment, the battlefield that both of them were on was indeed dark and gloomy. The air was filled with killing intent. Both forces clashed head-on. Gu Donglu took on the Qianqiu brush with a single finger, and his body was under extreme pressure. The Qianqiu brush of the crown prince continued to be shrouded with boundless killing currents. However, Gu Dongliu's finger was shrouded by boundless celestial light of the weapons. It was as if his body alone had awakened and fused with all the mystical beings and demons there were. The divine picture of heavenly mandate and the Juetian diagram continued to be at work. Both constructs continued to shift and resonated with the heavenly path. Tianyu's expression was as pointed as it could have been, as his eyes remained fixed on Gu Donglu below. His robes and his hair billowed as he looked at the other man. He coldly uttered, "Do you know the true meaning of heavenly mandate?" Gu Donglu remained looking at him without responding. It is as the term implies. Heavenly mandate, the will and way of the heavens. It is thus a mandate, an order from the heavens, Tianyu elaborated. His voice sounded overbearing. His surroundings resonated with him, as he fused the power of divine sound with his voice. Killing currents rained down in a frenzy as he spoke, drowning the sky below. Countless shadows of Kuimping dove down, tearing through space. Huge, golden ancient bells dropped one after another. It was as if they were Runhuang bells of the Great Path, heading straight for Gudonglu. The power of all those attacks resonated at the same time, as they headed for their target. Heavenly mandate, a mandate from the heavens. A will of heaven that destroyed everything in its path. The Juetian diagram continued to spin around Gudonglu. Boundless celestial light burst and thousands of mystical beings and demons roared, charging at that power as they resisted it. Clashes at such close distances made all who saw it feel tingles all over. It was as if that space was about to be completely destroyed. Overbearing celestial light from the Juetian diagram spun and surged at Gudonglu, who at the moment looked like a true mystical being. The spinning Juetian diagrams centered around him. The will of thousands of mystical and demonic beings merged within his body, consuming the way of all under providence. The light of the 9 symbols burst on his body, which then spun around him. At that moment, Gudonglu had completely merged with his life spirit. The might of the life spirit was that of his own. An overbearing shadow of a mystical being appeared above his body. The shadow was huge and connected with his life spirit, as if the shadow itself was a manifestation of the life spirit. The light of the 9 symbols burst on the shadow, which pointed forward and brought the weapons charging, destroying the killing currents. The symbol of Lin resonated with his surroundings while the symbol of Do destroyed all bells of Renhuang. The 9 symbols fused into a single being and burst from the shadows, resulting in mystical and demonic beings howling. That power actually managed to resist the attacks from Yi Tianyu. That scene caused the hearts of spectators to race. This is formidable indeed. When Gudonglu fought with Wang Yambing back then, Wang Yambing hadn't been able to so much as leave a dent on Gudonglu. Wang Yambing was defeated despite using an ultimate sacrificial attack. The hearts of many from Haotian City raced. Despite being lauded as the #1 saint in Haotian City, it was apparent that Wang Yambing was leagues below both Gudonglu and the Crown Prince. Both of them were truly the most formidable and the greatest there was, and they would come to represent the pinnacle of 2 of the most powerful of lineages. They would reign supreme among human cultivators of their generation, in all of the heavenly mandate realm, making them truly beings at the pinnacle of eternal greatness. They were so formidable that there probably would not be any from the demon realm capable of taking them on. There were many mighty ones from the demon realm present on that day, and they were just as frightened by the fight taking place before them. Talents of human cultivators made them envious, as they possessed the ability to create spells of such levels, bringing their might to the very extreme. Yi Tianyu sensed the power of Gudonglu. The space around the Crown Prince raged as well. He had to admit that Gudonglu was indeed a legendary genius like none other created by Gu Tianxing, seeing how his own attacks still remained incapable of defeating Gudonglu. Heavenly mandate, godly advent, Yi Tianyu said solemnly. That was the ultimate killing move of the art of heavenly mandate. Heavenly mandate, godly advent. The hearts of countless raced. They were surprised at how Yi Tianyu had even finished training in a move of such a high level. It was no surprise when the heavenly mandate dynasty dared to come all the way there, and why Yi Tianyu was so boastfully confident. Towering divine light burst from Yi Tianyu's body after the line was heard, which blinded all who saw it. The divine sound throughout the vast space was heard all over the place, resonating with the Great Path. Boundless will of the Great Path rained down on Yi Tianyu's body. The divine picture of the heavenly mandate absorbed the powers of his surroundings, which then surged into his body. Yi Tianyu seemed to have clad himself in a nigh indestructible body, which radiated extremely dazzling divine light. Every single beam seemed to be able to pierce through the space, destroying all who were of his plane. He no longer seemed to be himself at that moment. Countless saints below cast saintly light for defense, resisting the beams of divine light with their own might. The light from Yi Tianyu was enough to reach and injure them. Even those who were holiness of nirvanas felt the same way. At that moment, Yi Tianyu looked like a heavenly god. That is really something. Everyone below struggled to look up at Yi Tianyu, while under the protection of divine light. At that moment, Yi Tianyu simply looked too dazzling. It was too much for the world to handle. He was so frightening that even the Renhuangs were shocked. They recalled the history of the Heavenly Mandate dynasty. As a coalition of absolute imperials in the Heavenly Mandate realm of old, the Heavenly Mandate dynasty was lauded as the divine dynasty, with the ruling class claiming to be gods of the realm, ruling over the dynastic forces. All cultivators of the vast realm needed to pay tribute and worship them. Their ancestors created arts so terrifying that they were known to be godly arts, the divine art of Heavenly Mandate, with the ultimate move being Heavenly Mandate Godly Advent. It was a move so formidable that all within the Heavenly Mandate realm needed to bow and worship before it, as if it was an advent of a god. When such powers were unleashed, many were unable to help but recall the glory of the Heavenly Mandate dynasty. It was difficult to imagine just how powerful Gu Tianxing had been all those years ago, before he became capable of killing even the previous dynastic overlord, and ended up being injured by the current one. At present, the legendary crown prince seemed to be about to inherit the will of his ancestors and bring about a renaissance to the dynasty. He was still a saint, and yet he already completed learning the art of Heavenly Mandate. The world lauded Zhang Yuan from the Violet Heavenly Palace to be the one with the supreme body of the Great Path. However, from the looks of things, it seemed that the Crown Prince was the one who had an unmatched constitution instead. He seemed to be a godly manifestation of the Heavenly Mandate itself, which was probably why the dynastic overlord claimed the prince was one born to reign supreme. He was indeed one who was destined to be a cut above the rest. But then again, the Heavenly Mandate realm had another who claimed that he possessed the godly body of the Heavenly Path. The clan leader of the Jiang clan locked his eyes onto the Crown Prince as well. He came to understand somewhat why the dynastic overlord wanted to send the prince away to train elsewhere in secret. The Heavenly Mandate dynasty suffered a heavy blow all those years ago, and it was within reason that they worried that if there were to be yet another legendary figure emerging, causing yet another war between the top-notch forces, that the dynasty would end up in ruin. It was just like how Gu Tianxing's actions of fostering Gu Donglu brought about the current state of affairs seen now. The clan leader had to admit that Yi Tianyu was indeed a legendary figure. The crown prince came on that day just for Gu Donglu. He wondered if Gu Donglu would have been able to stop the crown prince on his own. The ones in the crowd began to have doubts, and began to be concerned on behalf of Gu Donglu. He was, after all, a member of the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven, and it was Haotian City that the battle was taking place in. There were naturally more people hoping that Gu Donglu would win. Gu Tianxing brought a great many glories to the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven, after all. However, Yi Tianyu was simply too dazzling of a figure at the moment, causing many to have doubts if Gu Donglu would have been able to stop him. Gu Donglu was actually just as brilliant. The mystical and demonic beings of the diagram of Great Path circled about him. The 9 symbols resonated, and his mystical soul became a true mystical being, which was extremely shocking to those who witnessed it. It seemed as if the battle was no longer a battle fought between mortals, but one fought between gods. Many in the world learned of the Juetian diagram in that war all those years ago, thinking that Gu Tianxing was unmatched. Today, I shall rectify that with the art of Heavenly Mandate, the Crown Prince said. He was out to prove the superiority of the dynasty with a rich history behind it, as well as that of the art of the Heavenly Mandate, and the divine picture of the Heavenly Mandate. Gu Donglu looked up at him. The light emanating from both beings continued to clash between them. Devastating aura of the Great Path raged all over the place. Vroom! Yi Tianyu was seen descending like a god at a speed faster than lightning. The Great Path around him collapsed, and everything was shattered. The killing rays rained down as he charged at Gu Donglu like a god. The Kuanping spread its wings, and he brought down the Qinqiu brush straight onto Gu Donglu. Boundless aura of the Great Path in the sky coursed below as he moved. His divine light destroyed everything in his path. Nothing was deemed capable of stopping the brush. Gu Donglu performed seals, and the Juetian diagram spun in a frenzy. The mystical shadow was fused with the power of mystical and demonic beings, which then blitzed in the sky. The light of the 9 symbols transformed into celestial light of the Great Path, circling about in the air, and clashing with the figure coming down. Boom! The devastating storm swept through the place, destroying everything in its path. If there were to be anyone below Runhuang caught in its wake, there was no way they could have survived. The Qinxiu brush and the ancient symbols clashed and blasted on that one figure. The symbols circling around the shadow seemed to have cracked, and the shadow trembled, causing Gu Donglu to tremble as well. His handsome face looked rather twisted at that moment. Both of them were shrouded in blinding light, and they looked extremely divine. Yi Tianyu's long hair wore a golden sheen. It was as if every single strand was transformed into golden swords dancing in the air in divine light. His eyes were incredibly pointed as he stared at Gu Donglu. The Qinxiu brush in the crown prince's hand was thrust forward bit by bit. It was as if Gu Donglu would crumble altogether if he were to even flinch. Many truly felt stifled at the moment. They locked their eyes on that scene in the midair, finding that Gu Donglu's expression was turning increasingly strained, yet his eyes remained filled with resolve. At that moment, Gu Donglu recalled the voice of his grandfather. The true meaning of a mystical being was to have their soul and spirit meld with the world, to meld with the great path, and to meld with everything. He looked at Yi Tianyu with eyes that remained crystal clear. A shadow seemed to have left his body, merging with the Juetian diagram and the ancient symbols, and within that towering, imposing shadow, his body seemed to have completely overlapped with that shadow. It had entered a surreal state of being, as if he was a mystical being himself. Yi Tianyu seemed to have sensed that aura. His blade-like eyebrows frowned, and a beam of very high-intensity light blasted, blinding the eyes of all who saw it. The devastating storm raged about in their surroundings. When everyone came to see everything clearly, both Gu Donglu and Yi Tianyu were separated. The auras of both men were faltering. They were both soaked in blood. The mystical shadow crumbled while the godly form shattered. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. In the silent space, warriors were watching those two figures, who were shaken back in the void sky at the same time. In the silent space, warriors were watching those two figures, who were shaken back in the void sky at the same time. The violent airflow over the sky dome gradually dissipated, and it soon completely vanished. There was no sound in the void air at all. The silence was somehow a little terrifying. Both seemed to be injured, but how were their injuries? And even at this moment, they were still staring at each other. The strongest inheritors in the heavenly mandate realm seemed to have both been severely injured in this battle. Was the heavenly mandate divine advent skill still unable to suppress Gu Donglu? Warriors thought to themselves. This was the inheritance that Gu Tianxing gave to Gu Donglu. Within just a few months, he had skipped many levels and entered the Nirvana plane. After entering the Nirvana plane, he did not lose in the battle against the crown prince of heavenly mandate dynasty, Yi Tianyu. People of Haoyan City were exhilarated, and they looked quite agitated. They were not sure about this battle, especially when the heavenly mandate divine skill was released. When the heavenly mandate divine advent skill befell, they all thought that Gu Donglu would be defeated. Even though Gu Donglu had the super inheritance, he owned it for a very short time. Yi Tianyu had cultivated in seclusion for many years, until now he returned as a nirvana saint with a very stable condition. And his cultivation method also once was the strongest inheritance in the heavenly mandate realm. So no one would think that Gu Donglu had any real advantage in this battle. Gu Donglu did not lose in this battle, which was enough. He still had time. After Gu Donglu stabilized his status and fully digested the power of Gu Tianxing's inheritance, he would keep transforming and become more powerful. At that time, he would be more confident and more likely to defeat Yi Tianyu. Between these two destined opponents, Gu Donglu seemed no longer to be the only one with a disadvantage. Many people looked toward the crown prince of the heavenly mandate dynasty. In this battle, Yi Tianji, the crown prince of the heavenly mandate dynasty, came to fight in person, using the strongest heavenly mandate divine skill, but he still failed to beat Gu Donglu. Nobody knew how the Violet Heavenly Palace and Heavenly Mandate Dynasty would solve what had happened today. At least, they had failed to lower the morale of the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven. Even though Wang Yanbing was defeated, Yi Futian had a triumphant victory and solely vanquished 9 opponents, and Gu Donglu was not defeated either. As for the Violet Heavenly Palace, their strongest figure, the supreme form of Great Path Zhan Yuan, had been lost to Yi Futian once, so perhaps the next battle would also be in vain. You are brave to let your soul enter the path. At this moment, Yi Tianyu finally said after the two of them were separated from each other. He looked at Gu Donglu and said, "It seems that what Gu Tianxing has done is meaningful." After these words, he turned and walked away. He did not continue the fight with Gu Donglu. When he turned around, his face looked slightly pale, but his gaze remained firm, and his long hair was blowing in the wind. In this battle he was wounded. Gu Donglio's last blow collided with him head-on. Both were badly injured. Gu Donglu saw him turn around, so he turned and left too with no words. Any words would be meaningless. Although during this battle, he didn't defeat him, he believed that the next time when they met again, he would become stronger. However, he also acknowledged Yi Tianyu's strength. He was the crown prince of Heavenly Mandate Dynasty. He was born to be the supreme. If he had been easy to defeat, the Heavenly Mandate Dynasty would not have been which it was. At this time, the blood in his body was boiling, and his life force was fluctuating. Gu Donglio's injury was not slight either. If he continued to fight, he was not sure if he would win, and Yi Tianyu had no absolute confidence either. This battle had to stop here. After all, the collision of the last strike, even for themselves, was not controllable. If they fought again, no one knew what the end would be. After they returned, the space became quiet again. Warriors of Haotian City looked toward those powerful figures. They were the ones who would decide how everything would turn out. The Lord of the Heavenly Penalty Palace and the Divine General of the Heavenly Mandates Dynasty did not speak. They stood there quietly, but an extremely depressing atmosphere formed between the sky and the earth, making people feel extremely uncomfortable. Heaven and earth once again fell into a dead silence, but it was even weirder this time. The previous silence was due to the end of the battle between the two peak figures. Then what was it this time? No one said anything. Those big figures didn't speak, so everyone else also had to shut up. At this moment, Gu Donglu passed by the two lords of Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven. The lord of Jiang clan nodded at him, and then he looked up at the void sky in the distance and said, "Since you two have arrived, why do you hide?" Many warriors trembled when they heard what the lord of Jiang said. Arrived? And they were two people. Just for a moment, a thought came to people's minds and made their hearts tremble. Who else besides those two giants could attract the attention of the two lords of Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven and watch the fight in the dark? At this moment, the oppressive atmosphere became stronger. It was as if the source was here. Many people's hearts thumped fast. They looked up at the sky, which seemed to have turned into a world of thunder. In the endless thunder, there seemed to be a thunder shrine, inside of which a figure was standing with his hands behind his back. He had a distinguished bearing. He was the lord of the Violet Heavenly Palace. Countless people looked up at the sky. Did he turn the vast and endless world into a world of thunder? With a single thought, the world was turned into that of doomsday. The other person was standing in another location. He was like a deity, with his whole body fully bright, and his majesty incomparable. He was like the king of all beings. He was hailed as the most powerful person in the Heavenly Mandate realm, the Imperial Lord of the Heavenly Mandate Dynasty. These two supreme powers came at the same time. They had been quelled by Gu Tianxing in the Origin Mountains, and got some injuries. Now it seemed that they had recovered very well, and could directly come to Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven. Forceful life forces rushed into the clouds from the Celestial Gate, and countless beams of immortal light were released, shrouding the void sky. The lord of the Jiang clan looked up at the two in the sky and said, "What is your matter?" "We are here to ask for a person," the Violet Heavenly Palace Lord said. "I am afraid that Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven does not have the person you want," the Lord of Jiang responded. In the past, the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven had betrayed Gu clan. So why should you let the descendant of Gu clan return now? Since we have even come here in person, please hand him over to us. We don't want to fight against the Celestial Gate again, the Violet Heavenly Palace Lord said. There was a sense of threat in his calm voice. Moreover, he also said that the celestial gate of vast heaven had betrayed the Gu clan in the past, which was devious. He was trying to alienate the celestial gate of vast heaven from Gu Donglu. Even though Gu Donglu did not believe their statement, if they repeated it many times, it would still leave a crack in his heart. You seem unwilling to come. Why are you still here? Please go back, said the lord of the Jiang clan. Boom! Over the sky, the imperial lord of Heavenly Mandate Dynasty took a step forward and pressed downward with infinite and supreme majesty. Behind him, many Renhuang-level warriors also stepped out. With just one step, they made the sky tremble, and countless people in the lower sky felt a real sense of death. Many people trembled slightly. Was the Heavenly Mandate Dynasty ready to start a war? What if I will take him away anyway? The Imperial Lord of Heavenly Mandate Dynasty said arrogantly, his voice shrouding the endless void sky. Many people stared at him, and the sense of killing emitting from his body made the world feel that he might really start a war here. Not only that, but after Yi Tianyu retreated, he actually left from behind the crowd under several Renhuang figures' escort. Did everyone guess it wrong? People's hearts beat faster. Did they send Yi Tianyu away in advance in order to prepare for the war? Boom! The light of thunder engulfed the void sky and kept radiating out, covering the whole celestial gate of vast heaven under the glare of thunder. The violet heavenly palace will not see a second Gu Tianqing emerge, said the heavenly palace lord. These two supreme-level figures both launched an attack in person. The destructive laws of thunder continued falling down. The Renhuang figures behind him followed, and at the same time, stomped down, crushing the sky dome. Let's go, someone said. Warriors below felt something unusual. Were they going to start a war? Once the war began, not to mention themselves, the entire city would be affected, and even disasters would befall all cities around. People started to panic, and many were preparing to evacuate. Everyone had emitted a sense of war. The Lord of Jiang clan looked up above the void sky, then fell his gaze on the Lord of Hua clan, and the warriors behind him. He said, in the war of that time, we chose our own interest, so we compromised on some things. Today, after almost 100 years, it's time we take these things back. In that battle, the Gu clan was exterminated. They betrayed Gu clan, which led to the Gu clan's destruction. What about today? Would they repeat history, hand over Gu Donglu, and sacrifice this last descendant of Gu clan, who was also the most promising and talented figure of the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven? Disciples of the Celestial Gate, who wants to fight? The Lord of the Jiang clan shouted, his voice spreading across the Celestial Gate. In the Immortal Gate, celestial light was blooming. Dazzling Renhuang celestial matrices were launched, and countless warriors stepped into the void sky. I want to fight. I want to fight. Voices came from everywhere in the space. A horrifying aura was formed in the entire Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven. Disciples of the Celestial Gate will never stop fighting until the last one of us dies. The Lord of the Jiang clan continued. At that time, only Gu Donglu survived. Now they would not stop fighting until there was only one last person left. We want to fight. At this moment below Celestial Gate, a group of warriors rose up. They were the Wang clan, who had just wanted to set foot in the Celestial Gate. I want to fight. In the distance, gradually more figures rose up and shouted. Gradually, countless warriors of the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven surrounded warriors of the Heavenly Mandate Dynasty and the Violet Heavenly Palace. The power of the whole city shared the same belief. An invisible force was formed. The faith of the whole city overwhelmed the world. Even the two giants, the Lord of the Violet Heavenly Palace and the Imperial Lord of the Heavenly Mandate Dynasty, felt the pressure. Power of the whole city. Yi Futian stood among the crowd, and he was slightly touched by this scene. This battle had historical roots for the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven, but it was also a battle for the third brother. A weak faith was the reason for every defeat. Today, although Gu Donglu was not the ruler of the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven, he could be called the hope of Haotian City. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. The forces of Futian city, large or small, had all stepped out, one after another. At that moment, people began to understand why the celestial gate of vast heaven was said to be the celestial gate of Futian city. The forces of Futian city, large or small, had all stepped out, one after another. At that moment, people began to understand why the celestial gate of vast heaven was said to be the celestial gate of Futian city. Perhaps it was because the words of the celestial gate of vast heaven gate Lord triggered people. At that time, the Gu clan died for the celestial gate and fought until only Gu Donglu was left. Now they were in the same situation. Only when there was one man could they cease the war. This reminded people of Futian city, how glorious the celestial gate of vast heaven was in the era of Gu Tianxing, and how prosperous the Futian city was at that time. No matter where they went, they all were proud to be a member of the celestial gate of vast heaven. If the celestial gate collapsed, then there would be no Futian city in the world. Futian city would be ruled by the Violet Heavenly Palace and the Heavenly Mandate dynasty. From then on, they would become vassals, and the forces would not have the status as they had today, nor would they have the opportunity to enter the core of the celestial gate. The Heavenly Mandate dynasty was an imperial alliance where they would not be allowed to be in charge. Of course, it might also be because of Gu Donglio's fight, from which they saw his determination and hope for the future. Perhaps, he was really a character who could change the times, reviving the celestial gate of vast heaven, and letting Futian city return to the top of Heavenly Mandate realm. Moreover, this time, it seemed that not only Gu Donglu but Gu Donglio's younger brother Yi Futian was also extraordinary. The dynastic overlord of the Heavenly Mandate dynasty and the Violet Heavenly Palace Lord frowned slightly. The faith of all beings could be very powerful. When all people had one faith, they could produce a superpower, which resonated with the great law. There will shrouded the boundless void sky, and could even see the Heavenly Mandate dynasty crown prince, Yi Tianyu, who was preparing to leave. Seeing many warriors around Yi Tianyu, forces of Futian city deployed troops occupying their nearby locations, and didn't show obvious intention to target them. However, as long as the war started, they would definitely do something to Yi Tianyu, since the two major forces of the Heavenly Mandate realm were coming to attack the celestial gate of vast heaven. This storm would be a real war. Silence permeated the celestial gate of vast heaven, and the repressive atmosphere shrouded everyone's heart. Those external top forces stood in different places and watched everything happening. If the Heavenly Mandate dynasty and the Violet Heavenly Palace wanted to forcibly attack the celestial gate of vast heaven, they would suffer heavy losses too. Even if the two forces were really able to exterminate the celestial gate, they would also have to lose a lot of vitality. What's more, there was a celestial matrix inside the celestial gate, which was the main battlefield of the celestial gate of vast heaven. This war probably would not happen. Do you really want to protect him, even at the expense of the celestial gate's destruction? The Heavenly Mandate dynastic overlord asked. His voice was cold, and he stood in the upper sky like a god as if he might hit the celestial gate at any time. Do you need me to repeat it again? The celestial gate will stop fighting only after there is only one person left, the Lord of the Jiang clan responded. What's more, are you sure you can destroy the celestial gate of vast heaven? Even if the celestial gate collapses, perhaps then it will be your turn to decline. I only need Gu Donglu. The voice of the Violet Heavenly Palace Lord contained thunder, trembling in the eardrums of every warrior. How about I give Gu Donglu to you, and you leave the crown prince of Heavenly Mandate dynasty and the supreme form of the great path of Violet Heavenly Palace here? The Lord of Hua clan also said. Just one person? How could they hand over this person? Could the dynastic overlord hand over the crown prince of the Heavenly Mandate dynasty? Could the Violet Heavenly Palace hand over Zhan Yuan, their supreme form of great path? Do you want to fight or not? Asked the head of the Wang clan, seeing that they were silent. The dynastic overlord of Heavenly Mandate dynasty glanced at him, and then said coldly, the celestial gate of vast heaven did not keep their promise in the past, and took the descendant of the Gu clan back to the celestial gate of vast heaven. You should always remember what you have done. Immediately after these words, the overwhelming life force of sky and earth quickly dissipated, and when the divine light dispersed, the figure in the void sky stepped away. At the same time, the light of thunder also dispersed, and the lord of the violet heavenly palace also left. The two giants disappeared directly. At this moment, the entire city of Futian seemed to relax, and everyone's heart settled down. Finally, they were not ready to go to war. They were also afraid, fearing they would repeat everything of that year and weaken the strength of the heavenly dynasty. Their vitality would be greatly hurt, and at that time, and other forces would benefit from it. At that time, the battle made the heavenly mandate dynasty fall from its peak, but it was still slightly stronger than other forces over the years. However, if it experienced such a war again, the heavenly mandates could not afford it. In fact, today, the heavenly mandate dynasty and the violet heavenly palace came to the celestial gate of vast heaven for a gamble. The previous battle and the appearance of the dynastic overlord and the palace lord, in the end, were all parts of the game. Once the celestial gate of vast heaven lost, the consequence would be disastrous. However, it was clear that during this game, Gu Donglu and the celestial gate of vast heaven both showed strong determination, which led to the withdrawal of the heavenly mandate dynasty and the heavenly palace from Futian city. Their bodies flickered in the air, and the warriors of both sides retreated like tides and soon disappeared into the void sky. This grand storm also came to an end. However, perhaps today was just the beginning. Later, the undercurrent of conflict would surge in the heavenly mandate realm. At least the clash between the two sides had intensified, and the battle between Gu Donglu and Yi Tianyu officially announced the direct confrontation of the two peak forces. No one knew exactly when this storm would completely break out, but everyone knew its final result would directly affect the political geography of the heavenly mandate realm. Was this the change of heavenly mandate predicted by that demon prophet? But the people of the celestial gate were still there. Warriors in Futian city looked up toward the ladder. The lord of Jiang clan stepped forward, saluting the world as he said, "There was an agreement between Jiang clan, Hua clan, and Gu clan during the battle at that time. The Gu clan was facing extermination, and I promised Gu Tianxing that if there was a chance in the future, I would make the celestial gate of vast heaven prosper again at all costs." Gu Tianxing was able to leave alone at that time, but for the safety of the celestial gate, he made his own choice. Now I have also made my choice, and I will never regret it. People of the celestial city who are unwilling to intervene, I respect your decision. For those of you who are willing to fight with the celestial gate, when the celestial gate returns to its peak, we will alter the order and determine how to inherit the celestial gate's mystical ways, the lord of Jiang clan said loudly. All the people of Futian city were able to hear his voice. Many people were deeply touched. Today would be a turning point for the celestial gate. Whether it would be destruction or rebirth was unknown. I see many people from forces of the heavenly mandate realm are still here. If you are willing to come to visit the celestial gate as friends, welcome, the lord of Jiang clan continued. These warriors just cupped hands and bid farewell. Nobody went to the celestial gate. The situation of opposition had been formed, and some of their behavior could easily cause misunderstandings, not to mention entering the celestial gate. They didn't want to be involved. Only Yi Futian and his party walked towards the celestial gate with no fear. The Divine Elephant clan was his background, but he was not a warrior from the Divine Elephant clan. Therefore, he did not represent the stand of the Divine Elephant clan. However, if the Heavenly Mandate dynasty and the Violet Heaven Palace wanted to lay a hand on him, they had to consider the Divine Elephant clan's position. "Thank you, sir." Yi Futian walked to the lord of the Jiang clan and saluted. His thank you was on behalf of his third brother. If the celestial gate of vast heaven had not been determined, they would never let go of the third brother. The top giants showed up on the scene, just to persuade the celestial gate of vast heaven to hand him over. If the celestial gate had quivered, third brother would not have been safe. My young friend Yi defeated the 9 strongest warriors of the heavenly mandate dynasty. I should be the one to thank you first, the lord of Jiang clan said with a smile. He was also happy that Gu Donglu could have such a brother. This young man had extraordinary talents and could one day definitely stand at the top. Let's go to the Celestial Gate, the Lord of Jiang Clan said. And the whole group started heading toward the Celestial Gate. Yi Futian and Gu Donglu walked together. After today, Yi will still have to be careful, the Lord of the Jiang Clan reminded him. Although the Heavenly Mandate dynasty did not dare to do anything to Yi Futian openly, the Heavenly Mandate realm was too big. It had too many powerful people, and they might use some special approaches. I understand, Yi Futian said and nodded. During this time, Yi, you can cultivate in the Celestial Gate, the Lord of Jiang Clan said. Okay. Yi Futian nodded and did not refuse. His cultivation of the mystical way also needed to stabilize for a while. I see that your relationship with Qin He of Brahma's Pure Sky seems unusual. If you can get shelter from the Brahma's Pure Sky Lord, the Heavenly Mandate dynasty and Violet Heavenly Palace will probably not dare touch you, the Lord of Hua clan beside them said. The Lord of the Jiang clan had told him that Gu Donglu didn't want to marry, so he wouldn't force him. But now many people were spreading rumors about Yi Futian and Qin He. If they had feelings for each other and got together, it would be helpful for Yi Futian and Gu Donglu. Previously, the Heavenly Mandate dynasty also had this idea and wanted to seek marriage with the Brahma's Pure Sky. It was not an unspeakable thing, just icing on the cake. Xia Qingyuan beside them heard those words and was stunned. The sparkle in her eyes changed. She sighed secretly to herself. He was a person born to be extraordinary, destined to leave other people behind. When they were in Emperor Xia's realm, she was able to help him, but now, she could only act as a sidekick. There would always be better people around him, either herself or Qin He. In the future, there might be even better women around him. Maybe, she shouldn't have had any thoughts in the first place. Some people were destined to be missed. Qin He and I are just friends. We are not like the rumors say, Yi Futian smiled and said. If so, just let it be. But Qin He, as the first maiden of Brahma's Pure Sky, must be very outstanding in all aspects, the Lord of Hua clan whispered. Yi Futian said nothing. His relationship with Qin He was too distant, and he had no such thoughts. The crowd gradually dispersed, and soon people all left. Xia Qingyuan walked alone toward the direction of the cloud sea. Yi Futian was talking with Gu Donglu. He noticed Xia Qingyuan walk towards that side, stop on the edge of a mountain peak above the Celestial Gate, and stand there quietly, watching the sea of clouds. What happened? Yi Futian asked. I want to go back to the Emperor Xia's realm, Xia Qingyuan said softly. Okay, Yi Futian said with a smile, nodding. Xia Qingyuan looked up at Yi Futian. This be asterisk starred. Are you planning to leave now? How do you plan to go back? Yi Futian said with a smile while Xia Qingyuan stared at him coldly. Xia Qingyuan froze. Suddenly, she realized her problem. How could she go back? Could she go back with her plane as it was? Here was the Heaven Mandate realm, one of the 9 supreme Renhuang realms. And it was even difficult to return to the Crimson Dragon realm by herself. Seeing the smile on Yi Futian's face, Xia Qingyuan stared at him fiercely. Yi Futian smiled and shrugged, saying, I don't know how far away it is from Emperor Xia's realm, but I suggest your highness should stay here. Yi Futian patted Xia Qingyuan's shoulder, then walked away. Seeing him leave, Xia Qingyuan said coldly, Yi Futian, you be asterisk starred. Is this the first time your highness has realized it? Yi Futian said carelessly and left. Seeing the receding figure, Xia Qingyuan didn't know if she should laugh or cry. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Xia Qingyuan cursed Yi Futian quietly in her heart, but Yi Futian, who turned around and left, also had a bitter smile on his face. Xia Qingyuan cursed Yi Futian quietly in her heart, but Yi Futian, who turned around and left, also had a bitter smile on his face. Over these years, Xia Qingyuan had been accompanying him since they were Emperor Xia's realm, and she had helped him a lot. She had gradually changed from the quarrelsome princess to what she was now. Recently, Xia Qingyuan no longer quarreled with him, and just stayed quietly beside him. How could he not understand her feelings? But in most situations he could just act silly. He seemed careless, which gave Xia Qingyuan some hope, but in fact, he just had no idea what to do. He didn't know what to deal with the relationship between him and Xia Qingyuan. It was impossible that he didn't have feelings for her at all. The cold and proud princess had sacrificed a lot for him, and he knew it. But before all, he came to the Supreme Path realm to find Jiyu. He was very clear, and Xia Qingyuan knew it too. So in fact, both of them had never thought about other things before. Even though Xia Qingyuan had feelings for him, she would just bury it in her heart. But recently, he asked people of Brahma's pure sky about Jiyu twice, and the answers he got made him a little bit unwilling to face reality, and even want to escape from it. He and Xia Qingyuan both knew that all they were doing might be nothing but his illusion. Jiyu was no longer alive. Until then, something had changed in Xia Qingyuan's heart. However, it was a bit difficult for him to completely forget Jiyu and stay with Xia Qingyuan. Perhaps the relationship between them was still a bit distant. Unlike her, Jiyu had been with Yi Futian since they were both young. They had spent the most beautiful years of their lifetime together, and everything between them was natural, but also unforgettable. However, if he just told Xia Qingyuan to leave, it would be a bit too cruel. So he could only act silly perhaps to give both sides more time. Above the celestial gate of vast heaven, the celestial mist was everywhere. This was the real celestial land, and the whole celestial gate was shrouded in the immortal air. Yi Futian would temporarily stay in the celestial gate for cultivation. Yu Sheng went to the Dragon God clan. Yi Wuchen went to the Wang clan to cultivate in mystical ways. The Sword Saint also cultivated the demonic sword over the celestial gate. Xia Qingyuan chose to cultivate alone in the Sea of Clouds. Now for Xia Qingyuan, she had no option but to make herself stronger. The hazy Sea of Clouds was like a paradise on earth. A black and white lotus appeared over Xia Qingyuan's body, being refined, blooming and fading, as if it was undergoing reincarnation again and again. There were two distinct life forces flowing around her body, which were two kinds of wills that were even totally incompatible. One was the wills of life, for living forever. One was the wills of death, for terminating life. But now life and death, these two opposite forces, appeared in her body at the same time, permeating the space. During the storm in the Origin Mountains at that time, she experienced a catastrophic disaster and almost lost her life. Yi Futian took her into the abyss and guarded her so she could survive in that horrible situation. But then she was blessed by the misfortune. From the dangerous situation, she understood the will of death, which was the opposite of the will of life. There was great horror between life and death. Now she understood the wills of life and the will of death, these two paths, which she thought might refine her cultivation. In front of another cliff in the celestial gate of vast heaven, there was also a place full of clouds and mists. Yi Futian was sitting there quietly, and seemed to have entered a state of self-oblivion. There seemed to be a faint sparkle blooming from his body, making his perception extremely powerful. It made his thoughts blend into the world. His soul was roaring, into the sea of clouds that suspended in the air, into the white clouds that flew above the sky, into the omnipresent wind between the sky and the earth. Everything was so clear. It was as if he didn't need to use his eyes, but was able to see this world more clearly and more real. He had a faint feeling of detachment, as if he had detached from all forms of existence, detached from everything. It was as if his life would be sublimated. The so-called mystical way was used when the cultivator's thought merged into the sky and the earth and resonated with them, thus emanating the celestial power. Behind Yi Futian, a figure of spiritual soul showed up. It perceived the great path wills of the sky and earth. His perception spread toward the distance, and his celestial spirit seemed to be able to see extremely distant places and continuously extended outward. Yi Futian felt like his soul had left his body, and his whole person was in nothingness. But now he seemed to be able to see more clearly about all the laws in the world. He could resonate with the world with the change of just one thought. His figure of nothingness lingered between the sky and the earth, continually drifting away, and even came out of the celestial gate. At this moment, Yi Futian seemed to perceive something. In the nothingness, the soul shadow looked up at the sky, where there seemed to be a similar life force. He looked curiously over there, but the next moment, his body of nothingness trembled violently, and Yi Futian's heart also thumped hard with it. He could actually perceive the existence of another figure of nothingness, as if it was right in front of him. If that had been all, he would not have been surprised, but he couldn't be more familiar with that face of the figure. His heart shook violently. It was as if he had been hit by something. He released his thoughts madly, and in the nothingness, he looked at that gorgeous figure, his eyes moist. Jiyu, Yi Futian murmured. Jiyu. She was still alive. Virum. In the nothingness, the illusory soul disappeared instantly, as if it had never shown up. Jiyu. Yi Futian shouted, his eyes suddenly wide open. He stood up and ran to the place where she had stood. However, there was only endless nothingness. Nothing was there, not to mention a figure like Jiyu. It is impossible, Yi Futian yelled in his heart. He could not have been wrong. It was absolutely impossible. Jiyu left in the form of a spiritual soul. So was she still alive in the form of soul today? However, since she was alive and had already come, why should she leave again? Jiyu, he called. Yi Futian's eyes became extremely sharp. It was as if he could see through the nothingness. He started to run and chased in one direction. Was it a dream or his fantasy? He didn't believe that he would not be able to distinguish between reality and illusion when he had reached such a high cultivation level. Unless it was a very powerful illusion attack, he could not have hallucinations. So it was most likely that it was really Jiyu. Jiyu. She was still alive. Must be alive. Friend Yi. At this time, someone in the celestial gate saw Yi Futian and called him. However, Yi Futian went straight into the distance as if he hadn't seen him. What's going on? The people of the celestial gate asked each other, looking at Yi Futian in confusion. He seems to be chasing after something. Did anything happen? They wondered. Yi Futian ran forward aimlessly. There had been no trace of Jiyu at all, but he just went ahead according to his feelings. In the state of the celestial soul, his perception was unprecedentedly powerful, and that feeling was also so terrifyingly keen that his eyes could even capture bodiless beings. Soon, Yi Futian stepped out of the celestial gate of vast heaven and continued moving in one direction. His speed was very fast and he didn't stop at all. After a while, Yi Futian looked ahead, and a strange look flashed in his eyes. Had he been wrong this time? He was too confident, but even in the Saint Plane, could he suffer from illusions? Maybe his perception was no longer as keen as before. Or was it because he missed her too much? Yi Futian took a few steps forward and drifted down slowly without continuing chasing. After he arrived here, that kind of feeling seemed to have disappeared. He looked toward the palace in front of him. There were still people outside at this moment. They saw Yi Futian and saluted. We are glad to meet Mr. Yi. Glad to meet you too, goddesses, Yi Futian said and nodded slightly. Have the goddesses of the Brahma's pure sky not returned yet? It had been a while since the battle, but Brahma's pure sky's people were still here. So he had run to where Brahma's pure sky was stationed. Before, he had also lived here, so he guessed that he might have had a hallucination, and perhaps that kind of familiar feeling was because of this palace. He had lived here for a long time. Not yet. Sister Qin has been waiting for Mr. Yi, a lady said. Yi Futian pointed at himself and said, Is Miss Qin still here? I haven't bid farewell to Mr. Yi yet, so of course I am still waiting, a gentle voice came. A stunning lady came near with a smile. It was Qin He. That day, Mr. Yi directly entered the celestial gate of vast heaven and didn't say goodbye, so I had to wait here for you. Now finally, Mr. Yi comes out of the celestial gate, so I should bid farewell to you now, Qin He said. Her voice was extremely gentle, just like a spring breeze. Besides, her words did not go beyond courtesy, but she also showed her concern for Yi Futian at the same time. Even Yi Futian had to say that she was a bit dangerous. Enough to enrapture every top figure. I didn't say goodbye that day. It's my fault, Yi Futian said. I should apologize to Goddess. Never mind. If you are interested, please come to Brahma's pure sky one day and have a cup of tea with me, Qin He said, smiling. Yi Futian nodded slightly and said, Absolutely. Okay then, I should leave now. I will see you out, Futian said. Thanks for your kindness, but I am afraid Mr. Yi must have a lot of things to do. I can leave with the people of my sect, Qin, said. Her voice was still gentle. Goddess Qin, take care of yourself. Futian didn't say much but just cupped his hand and said, Please. Thank you, Mr. Yi. You take care too, Qin, said. Futian nodded, turned around and left. After he left, Qin returned to the palace and came in front of someone. The person in front of her was also an unusual lady. As Qin, the first maiden of Brahma's pure sky, appeared in front of her, Qin looked quite timid and just stood there without speaking. Let's return to Brahma's pure sky, the woman said. Aye. Everyone nodded and answered. Soon this large group of people left by air. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. The land of the demon realm was vast and boundless. The land of the demon realm was vast and boundless. In the vast demon realm, the Origin Mountains was the birthplace of the demon realm. In addition to the demon metropolis, there were several other bustling areas in the demon realm. For example, the Celestial Dragon 8 Demon City, including Purple Gold Dragon City, Azure Dragon City, Black Dragon City, Fire Dragon City, and Frost Dragon City, and other three form an extremely prosperous district in the demon realm. 8 dragon kings ruled the 8 dragon cities. However, all the warriors in the demon realm knew that the ancestral land of the Dragon God clan was not the Celestial Dragon 8 Demon City, but the Dragon Abyss in their center. The Dragon Abyss was an incredibly vast area where many islands were floating in the air. Amid the floating islands, there was an endless abyss. Here you could often see real dragons looming. The endless mountains and islands of Dragon Abyss were also called the Dragon God Mountain. Here was the true holy land of the dragon race, and those mountains were shaped like dragons. In this vast area of the Dragon Abyss, one could also see real adult dragons teaching young dragons to cultivate and travel through the mountains and abyss. At this time in this area, 2 figures were walking in the air. One of them had horns on his head, wore a dragon robe over his body, and had a very strong demonic aura. Apparently, he transformed from a true dragon. The man next to him was burly and dressed in a black robe, with a majestic and cold temperament all over him. Dragon Emperor Grandpa, who is this human? At this time, 100-meter-long dragon circled up in the void sky and came in front of 2 of them. The dragon's beard was long, but the dragon's face looked quite immature. Obviously, this dragon was young in the dragon family. He was looking at Yusheng, wondering who this man was. He is called Yusheng. He is here for cultivation, the powerful figure of the Dragon God clan said with a smile. Futian said that he would send Yusheng to the Dragon God clan for cultivation, and he agreed. If that guy was not willing to teach, he would teach Yusheng the power of dragon deity by himself. Since the prophet predicted that the heavenly mandate realm would change, he had to make some preparations in advance. Where is Dragon Emperor Grandpa taking him for cultivation? The young dragon asked curiously. Kids don't need to care about such things. Go cultivate, the old dragon said with a smile. He kept heading forward with Yusheng. The young dragon wobbled and circled down, somewhat depressed. There were very few humans here. These 2 figures kept moving forward, and after they came to a place, they even went all the way down to the bottom of the Dragon God Mountain area. Yusheng was a little confused, and when he looked down, he seemed to perceive a terrifying life force from it. Here, this area is the forbidden place of our dragon clan, the powerful figure of the Dragon God clan said to Yusheng. Yusheng was even more puzzled. Since it was a forbidden area, why did he bring him here? Could it be that the person who the Dragon God clan wanted to teach him stayed here in the forbidden area? With confusion, Yusheng went deep into the abyss with him. Yusheng's eyes narrowed slightly as he stared down. In the abyss, he felt an extremely intimidating demonic will. It was as if it was everywhere in this land of the abyss. They went down deep into a place that looked like hellish space of the demonic law. It was like the underground of the dragon abyss, with many mountains inserted into this district upside down, which seemed to be the extension of the mountains above. Over these countless mountains there were infinite chains. Each chain was made by divine weapons, reflecting extremely bright light. The infinite chains seemed all leading to one place. They stopped, and the big figure of the Dragon God clan raised his head and looked in one direction. Yusheng also looked toward that side and saw a huge body curling behind the upside-down peaks. The twisted body was so huge that it wrapped more than 10 peaks. The scene was very shocking. Its skull was immensely large, and even its eyes were larger than human bodies. The dragon scales on it were black, with a terrifying dark sheen. A demon dragon, Yusheng murmured, staring at the front. It was definitely a giant-level demon dragon. What was even more shocking was that its huge body seemed to be wrapped with infinite chains. It was as if the endless chains on the peaks were all just used to lock its body. I haven't come to see you for a long time. The powerful figure of the Dragon God clan, who came with Yusheng, spoke to the locked demon dragon. The demon dragon's huge eyes stared at him. His body circled upward, and he didn't say anything. He had been here for over 300 years. It didn't matter whether or not anyone came to visit him. Of course, 300 years was not too far away for him. You must be bored of cultivating here for hundreds of years. I met a human cultivator outside who cultivated in the demonic path. So I brought him here and asked if you would accept him as a disciple and teach him. The powerful figure of the Dragon God clan continued to speak, but the demon dragon seemed to have no interest. He took a glance at Yusheng, and then looked at the powerful figure of the Dragon God clan and said, "I have no interest in teaching disciples." His voice was extremely deep. It had a slight sense of depression, which was quite horrifying. Yusheng stood there, and could clearly feel a suffocating oppression. He didn't know what crime the demon dragon had committed to keeping him locked here. "I know," the powerful figure of the Dragon God clan continued. "But he is a little different. It seems he was maybe destined to meet you. You can take a look at him first." "Why is he different?" the demon dragon said coldly, and his voice still had no fluctuation. "It's hard to tell, but maybe you would be interested. Just take a look, and if you don't have any interest, I will take him away," said the powerful figure of the Dragon God clan again. The demon dragon ignored him and just looked at him quietly. "I will get out first, and if you are not interested, you just let Yusheng go out by himself, and I will take him away," the powerful figure of the Dragon God clan continued. After these words, he rose into the air and left. Yusheng showed a strange look. Didn't he worry if the demon dragon would hurt him? What exactly happened between the demon dragon and the Dragon God clan? In their dialogue, there seemed to be no anger at all, and they both looked very calm. When the dragon saw him leaving, his huge eyes glanced over Yusheng. Was it because his previous master was a human cultivator that he sent a human to follow him for cultivation? However, he was never interested in teaching anyone to cultivate. He only admired stronger power. "Go away," the demon dragon said to Yusheng. No matter how talented this human was, he would not be interested. Yusheng frowned when he heard what he said, a bit unhappy. The character of this demon dragon was a bit weird. "I should leave then." He didn't say much and just rose straight up about to leave. Since he didn't show any interest, Yusheng was not interested in him either. He didn't need others to teach him to cultivate. He could do it alone. The demon dragon also noticed Yusheng's dissatisfaction, and a look of contempt flashed across his huge eyes. He was just of the Saint Plane. How dare he show discontent? His sharp claw swept through the air, and suddenly, a rumbling sound came out. Yusheng immediately felt extremely strong pressure. He saw a huge demonic claw smashing down at him, crushing the void sky. The dark claw seemed to be transformed from a giant dragon claw, and the power was terrifying. Not everyone is qualified to cultivate in demonic power. An indifferent and domineering voice spat out from the mouth of the demon dragon. Over Yusheng's body, the demonic power roared and rumbled, and a gust of mighty demonic life force swept out. He stepped in the void sky, and the dark golden light circled around his body. Demon statues appeared behind him, and all the demons rushed out. A huge demon palm print blasted out, and went straight toward that huge demonic claw. With a loud noise, the claw and the palm print collapsed at the same time. The scene made the dragon show a different color in his eyes. although he deliberately controlled his power and wanted to give Yusheng a lesson, warning Yusheng that no one was qualified to cultivate in the demonic law. He thought it was still enough to crush Yusheng based on his plane. However, Yusheng blocked it. The dragon's huge eyes stared at Yusheng, and he felt somewhat familiar with the demonic airflow around Yusheng. Boom! The huge body moved forward, and the chains made clanging sounds. His huge claw smashed down toward Yusheng, as if the might of heavenly law befell. Yusheng just felt suffocated, and fixed his eyes on the claw approaching from the sky. This time, the demon dragon did not control his power. One could imagine how terrifying it was. The demonic might over Yusheng's body snarled and roared, and many demon shadows appeared. But the smashing claw was like a devil's claw, and the gap of their planes was too large to overcome. Yusheng could not even escape, and was directly smashed down. He growled wildly, and his big eyes just stared at the other side. How dare you resist, Kit? The demon dragon spoke coldly. His huge body approached, his eyes fixed on Yusheng. His claws exerted strength slightly. Yusheng was frantically struggling, but it was of no use. The claws were still exerting pressure. It was as if he wanted to crush Yusheng's body. Yusheng stared at him coldly, the demonic might in his body reaching its max. He was on the brink of dying, so he had to use up every ounce of his strength. But even so, it was still useless. Boom! A peerless demonic shadow appeared, and used a pair of cold eyes, sweeping toward the other side. When Demon Dragon saw the demonic shadow, he was stunned first, and then his huge body shivered violently. Boom! As the dragon's body trembled more and more violently, the whole abyss seemed to be shivering. He let his claw loose, and when the shivering dragon saw Yusheng's chilly gaze, he lowered his extremely proud head and kneeled down as if in worship. Boom! The countless upside-down peaks of the abyss were still shaking. Outside of the abyss, the powerful figure of the Dragon God clan frowned. He looked around and saw the mountains of the Dragon Abyss were trembling. Many warriors of the Dragon clan rose up and watched this scene in shock. This was... What happened? Roar! The dragon's snarl rang through the sky and the earth. Many young dragons in the Dragon Abyss were shocked and dropped to the ground, and many adult giant dragons were also trembling and groveling. The whole bottomless Dragon Abyss seemed to be trembling at this moment. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. The sound of dragon snarling kept coming from the Dragon Abyss. Many Dragon Clan warriors headed toward the direction at the same time. The sound of dragon snarling kept coming from the Dragon Abyss. Many Dragon Clan warriors headed toward the direction at the same time. The mountains were still trembling, and the dragon snarling lingered around the world for a very long time. This sound seemed to come from the forbidden area of the Dragon God clan. It was rumored that a dragon that had sinned was imprisoned in the forbidden area of the Dragon God clan. This dragon sinner was extremely talented, and at his time, he even had the opportunity to become the head of the Dragon God clan. His strength was extremely intimidating. According to the elders of the Dragon God clan, his strength might not be less than the head of the Dragon God clan. As for what crime he committed, adult dragons all knew a little bit. After all, a true dragon had a long life, and the adult dragons had lived for many years, so they naturally understood what happened in the past. Some young dragons also had heard some rumors from their elders. It was said that he used to be the mount for a big figure at that time, when the serious accident happened in the Divine Prefecture, and he was directly detained in the forbidden area, and had not been able to go outside until now. However, after hundreds of years of imprisonment, the sound of his dragon snarling came from the forbidden area. How could the Dragon God clan not be trembling? Outside the forbidden area, the powerful figure of the Dragon God clan, who came with Yusheng, was standing there, his eyes looking down, full of confusion. What happened? Many huge demon dragons heard the sound and came from the sky, all looking over. The echo of the dragon snarling gradually dissipated, and many huge eyes were looking at the forbidden abyss. However, at this moment, a voice came from the silent forbidden area, saying, "Starting today, I will start to guide his cultivation here. Don't disturb me." The sound coming from the abyss resonated in the void sky, which made many of dragon warriors tremble, who would be guided by him in cultivation. They didn't know what happened. Good. The powerful figure of the dragon clan, who came with Yusheng, nodded. Did this guy finally agree to accept disciples, after being silent for more than 300 years? It was a good thing. It seemed that Yusheng indeed had potential. Otherwise, that guy would not have had such a strong reaction. Or maybe from Yusheng, he might have seen a trace of that person. The powerful figure did not have much contact with that person, and was not very familiar with him. Still, when he saw Yusheng's aggressive demonic attack and outstanding talent, he thought Yusheng might be related to the demon dragon. So he brought him here. Now it seemed that his judgment was correct. Nobody is allowed to stay here. You shall not approach the forbidden land. He looked up and shouted at warriors of the Dragon God clan. Immediately, warriors of the Dragon God clan circled upward, and their huge eyes still stared down. They soon left with unhappy expressions. They were driven away before they figured out what happened. But since this spot was a forbidden area, they didn't dare to break in at will. It was said that that elder dragon who was locked there was extremely ferocious. They dared not provoke him. After the warriors had left, the powerful figure of the Dragon God clan took a deep look down, and then his body flickered, and he also left. Yusheng was good at using demonic power, and the person the old dragon followed at that time should have also been proficient in human demonic cultivation methods. And since he had brought Yusheng here, he could also teach him the power of dragon deity. He didn't need to worry about everything here. In the future, there would inevitably be one more top figure in the heavenly mandate realm. Things that would happen in this young generation must be exciting. After he left, the demonic cloud over the forbidden ground kept rolling and restored its former silence. Beneath the rolling demonic cloud, no one knew what had happened deep in the abyss, and they would never know that the fierce demon dragon of the Dragon God clan was kneeling on the ground and worshipping a weak human cultivator. Time flew, and Yusheng had stayed in the forbidden dragon abyss of the Dragon God clan and cultivated for a while. Yi Wuxian was cultivating in mystical ways in the Wang family of Vast Heaven City, while Yi Futian and Xiaqing Yuan cultivated above the celestial gate of Vast Heaven. During this time, the heavenly mandate realm seemed extraordinarily calm, but there was also a rising undercurrent beneath the seemingly calm surface. Soon, year 10030 of the Divine Prefecture calendar had arrived. It had been 2 years since Yi Futian and others came to the heavenly mandate realm. In the past 2 years, it seemed like a lot of things had happened. It was like a dream. During this period, another major event happened in the Vast Heaven dynasty. It was said that when warriors of the Vast Heaven went to their ancestors' mausoleum to worship, they discovered some secrets left by their ancestors. However, the details were not clear, and further information was blocked by the Heavenly Mandate dynasty. Probably, only insiders knew something. However, according to the rumors from the outside world, this time, the discovery from the Heavenly Mandate dynasty might be extraordinary and might even greatly improve the strength of the Heavenly Mandate dynasty. Now, the Heavenly Mandate dynasty had deployed its imperial warriors in sequence to the land of imperial ancestors' mausoleum. This had made many people aware of the opportunity, and many top powers also wanted to pry for more information. After all, if the Heavenly Mandate dynasty became stronger, it would directly affect the situation in the Heavenly Mandate realm, and also affect themselves. The celestial gate of Vast Heaven should be the most disturbing one. After all, in such a sensitive period, if the Heavenly Mandate dynasty became stronger, it would be a disaster for the celestial gate of Vast Heaven. Many people were paying attention to the updates of the celestial gate of Vast Heaven, but the celestial gate of Vast Heaven was as calm as before, without any response. However, something seemed to be going on in the Heavenly Mandate dynasty. On this day, many warriors appeared in front of the palace hall of the Heavenly Mandate dynasty. They seemed to be waiting for something. The Heavenly Mandate dynasty Crown Prince Etienne was also there. If other people of the Heavenly Mandate realm saw this scene, they would be very suspicious. In the Heavenly Mandate realm, who was worthy of waiting for the crown prince of the heavenly mandate dynasty. Perhaps there were not many people. After a while, a dazzling beam of divine light descended over the void sky, and a ray of light shone down from above. The next moment, a group of figures appeared out of nowhere at the front of the main hall of the heavenly mandate dynasty. The heavenly mandate dynasty was heavily guarded, but now, none of the warriors stood up. It was as if they had already known these people would come. All the people in this group looked extremely outstanding, especially those in the front row. They were also very young. Although their life forces were very strong, they would not be grown-ups for a long time. Seeing them show up, a smile cracked across Etienne's face. He walked ahead, and all the warriors behind him followed. "I haven't seen you all for a long time, and you still look great," Etienne said with a smile. The people behind him were all big figures of the heavenly mandate dynasty, and many of them were even Runhuang-level warriors. But they dared not neglect at this moment, because they all knew where these people came from. "Brother E is the same. You are awesome," another person said with a smile. "Thank you all for crossing the realm and coming here, brothers," Etienne said. It was clear that these people did not belong to the heavenly mandate realm, but were from other realms. But of course they were also from one of the 9 supreme realms. "I heard that Brother E was born in the heavenly mandate dynasty, the supreme power of the heavenly mandate realm, and used to be the king of heaven mandate realm. I've been wishing to visit you, and now I have the chance. Please forgive us if we have disturbed you," another person said with a laugh. They used to cultivate in the same sect, which was an instruction simply for academics, but in fact, they were from different forces. Undoubtedly, even in the entire 9 supreme realm, the heavenly mandate dynasty, which Etienne belonged to, was also one of the top forces. Of course not. This time we heavenly mandate dynasty had a discovery in our imperial ancestors' mausoleum. So I invited all of you to come see if it might help our cultivation, Etienne said with a smile. As they talked, they walked forward. In front of the hall palace, armored sergeants were lined up on both sides, and the atmosphere looked extremely solemn. It seemed that although Etienne was extremely arrogant, he was not an unsociable person with no connection with others. Obviously, he made many friends when cultivating outside. "Let's go and meet His Majesty first," someone suggested. Since they had come here, they must first visit Etienne's father, the Lord of Heavenly Dynasty. It was basic courtesy. "Father has been already waiting for you," Etienne said with a smile. He kept walking with them. They stepped onto the royal staircase and came to a towering temple below. There, they saw a figure standing on the staircase with his hands behind his back, smiling and looking at them, saying, "Welcome to our heavenly dynasty, my young friends." They stopped, all of them saluting the Lord of the dynasty. They said, "We are here to salute you, Your Majesty. You are all my son's brothers, so no need to be excessively polite. Please take a seat," the dynastic overlord of heavenly mandate dynasty said with a smile. There was another important reason that he sent Etienne away, which was to let him associate with the best people. One would be more motivated to make progress only if he was surrounded by outstanding people. What happened in the heavenly mandate dynasty soon spread out, and was known to the people of the heavenly mandate realm. It didn't take long for the world to finally know where Etienne had been sent to cultivate. At the same time, people were also amazed by the decision of the heavenly mandate dynasty. They even let outsiders enter the imperial ancestors' mausoleum, which was the ancestral land of the heavenly mandate dynasty. What on earth did the heavenly mandate dynasty discover there? They were even willing to share it with outsiders. Just when the news of the heavenly mandate dynasty had not been fully digested, another supreme force in the heavenly mandate realm, Brahma's pure sky, also had important news. Brahma's pure sky showed the intention to invite warriors of the heavenly mandate realm to go visit them, and they had even invited the crown prince of the heavenly mandate dynasty. Some people had speculated that the Brahma's pure sky intended to find a spiritual partner for Qin He, the first maiden. The news caused an earthquake to the heavenly mandate realm. What happened recently? So much sensational news came out one after another. When did Brahma's pure sky take the initiative to look for spiritual partners for saintesses? Never. The saintesses of the Brahmas pure were holy and unparalleled, and none of the goddesses of the 9 skies were married. The first maiden Chin, he would become a goddess of 9 skies in the future, and even one of Brahma's pure sky's successor. But now the Brahma's pure sky was looking for a spiritual partner for her. Were they crazy? Could it be that Brahma's pure sky wanted to arrange a political marriage? If Brahma's pure sky had been the celestial gate of vast heaven, and had been facing a crisis, people might not be surprised. But now it seemed that Brahma's pure sky had not encountered any difficulties yet. So why did they do this? Unless the world guessed wrong. But if it was wrong, what was the reason for Brahma's pure sky to do so? Everything was so abnormal. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. The celestial gate of vast heaven naturally also got news from outside. The celestial gate of vast heaven naturally also got news from outside. Now the undercurrent was rising in the heavenly mandate realm, and all the information was very sensitive. What happened to the heavenly mandate dynasty and Brahma's pure sky today were significant events that might affect the political geography of the heavenly mandate realm, so they could not ignore it. On the misty mountain peak, Futian sat there, with many people around him. Gu Donglu also came to his side. "Brother." Gu Donglu walked to Futian and said, "Third brother, you must have heard about the thing of Brahma's pure sky, right? Just now, Brahma's pure sky sent someone to invite you to go there," Gu Donglu said. Futian looked at Gu Donglu and asked, "Brother, has Lord Jiang said why Brahma's pure sky did this?" Before, the Brahma's pure sky invited the heavenly mandate dynasty, and now he was invited too. Gu Donglu shook his head and said, "Lord Jiang said that since the Empress established the Brahma's pure sky, there has been no precedent for a saintess to seek marriage. This time, no one knows the reason, and the only possible explanation is that the Empress is worried about the big change in heavenly mandate realm and wants to seek an alliance through marriage to solidify Brahma's pure sky's position in the heavenly mandate realm. Maybe they want to survive in the changing heavenly mandate realm." Futian frowned slightly. Every move of the top forces now touched people's hearts. Brahma's pure sky's abnormal behavior was very confusing. "I feel like it's for you." At this time, a voice came from beside him. Futian turned his eyes and saw Xiaqing Yuan looking toward him. "Me?" Futian asked. Before, the heavenly mandate dynasty showed their attitude in seeking marriage, but the Brahma's pure sky ignored it. Later, you and Qin he spent a lot of time together. Perhaps the first maiden has fallen in love with you and wants to find an excuse to marry. They want to see what you think," Xiaqing Yuan said coldly. Futian looked at her with a strange look in his eyes. Xiaqing Yuan saw him staring at her and asked, "What were you looking at?" "Your Highness may be right," Futian whispered. Xiaqing Yuan blinked and looked at him. Extremely shameless. People next to them were also stunned. This guy was really cheeky. However, Futian was thinking of something else. One couldn't say that Qin he had fallen in love with him. They just spent a short time together. At best she had begun to like him. It was too rash to say love. After all, they had all reached the saint plane after many years of cultivation, and they were no longer in adolescence. Their states of mind wouldn't change easily, and it was not so easy to like someone. However, he still felt that there was something behind it. For example, after that battle of Violet Heavenly Palace, although he defeated Zhang Yuan, he was not the most eye-catching person in the Heavenly Mandate realm. The Crown Prince of Heavenly Mandate Dynasty had also been there. Why did Qin he treat him differently? Qin he made contact with him, and he still didn't know the reason. He had stayed in the same palace with her. If this was Qin he's style of doing things, then when Wang Yanbing and Yi Tianyu visited, why had she received them outside the palace? This meant that maybe it was not Qin he's original intention. So what was the purpose of Qin he getting in contact with him? Xiaqing Yuan indeed made him wonder if this incident would be related to him again. There was no logic in this guess. It was a very nuanced intuition. He faintly felt that things around the Brahma's pure sky were like mist. "Third brother, do you plan to go this time?" Futian asked Gu Donglu. "Let's go to the Colloquy Palace first," Gu Donglu said. Yi Futian nodded, and they walked in one direction. When they came to the Colloquy Palace, many warriors of the Celestial Gate were already here. 2 elders of the Jiang clan and Hua clan were in charge of this matter. The elder of the Hua clan fell his gaze on Gu Donglu and Yi Futian. He said, Yi, has Donglu already told you? Yes. Yi Futian nodded and replied. This time, the Brahma's pure sky sent an invitation. We were hoping that Donglu could marry the saintess of Brahma's pure sky, or marry a goddess in the future. But Donglu said he had a wife, so we gave up the idea. Besides, he'd better not go out now, the elder of Hua clan said. Now Gu Donglio's identity was very sensitive, and he was worried that he would be assassinated. Although the probability was very low, they should always be careful. The saintess of Brahma's pure sky, Qin He, is known to have an unusual relationship with Yi. Before, you also lived together in one palace. Now, the Brahma's pure sky is probably choosing a spiritual partner for her. What do you think of Qin He Yi? The elder of Hua clan continued. If the relationship between Yi Futian and Qin He could be taken a step further, it would definitely be beneficial. Yi Futian was a little speechless. He could understand the idea of the Celestial Gate. If he could be paired with Qin He, it would be of great benefit for the Celestial Gate. However, it would be impossible to be with Qin He. Sir, Qin He and I are just friends. It's not what you might have thought, Yi Futian said. The elder nodded slightly and said, but even so, we have to do something. In any case, Qin He cannot be with Yi Tianyu. Everyone understood this. If the crown prince of Heavenly Mandate dynasty married the first maiden of Brahma's pure sky, it would be a disaster for the Celestial Gate of vast heaven. Therefore, this situation could never happen. Gu Donglu can't go this time, but Jiang Taichu, Hua Qingyan, and Yi, you have to take the trip, the elder of Jiang clan said at this time. Even if Yi Futian could not be with Qin He, they had to stop Yi Tianyu. Therefore, they must take a trip to the Brahma's pure sky. Okay. Yi Futian nodded slightly and agreed without hesitation. He also wanted to see what the Brahma's pure sky's intention was, and whether or not it was related to him, as he had intuitively felt. Thank you all for your effort, he said. They all nodded, and the elder said, this matter should not be delayed. You should convene people and depart as soon as possible. You can go back and get ready now. Aye, they answered. All of them exited the Colloquy Palace and went back to prepare. After a while, from above the Celestial Gate of vast heaven, a beam of celestial light rushed straight into the sky, and a group of people rose up and headed into the distance. Their destination was the Brahma's pure sky. Brahma's pure sky was located in the northern part of the Heavenly Mandate realm, far from the Celestial Gate of vast heaven. One would pass the territory of the Heavenly Mandate dynasty, going between 2 places. But obviously, those from the Celestial Gate of vast heaven would avoid people of the Heavenly Mandate dynasty. Otherwise, who knew what would happen? Now there were powerful warriors everywhere in the Brahma Sky City. This city was the main city of Brahma's Pure Sky District, which was under the direct control of Brahma's Pure Sky. What happened in the city could hardly be hidden from them. What kind of figure was the Brahma's Pure Sky Empress? Her mind could connect with the 3,000 realms. The main city under the eyes of Brahma Sky City was within the coverage of her mind. No one ever had the thought about what to do here, and no one could lie to the Empress's ears. Therefore, in this main city, everyone must obey the rules of Brahma's Pure Sky. Recently, top figures from all sides of the Heavenly Mandate realm had come here. During this time, Brahma Sky City was bustling. At this moment, in a restaurant in Brahma Sky City, a group of unusual people had come and rented the whole restaurant. Others could only watch from a distance, showing their admiration. This group of people all had superb temperaments. They sat in the restaurant and chatted. Cultivators standing around them in different locations were all Renhuang level. They hid in different corners and closely supervised anything happening in this restaurant. The Heavenly Mandate Dynasty Crown Prince Yi Tianyu was in this restaurant. His companions were his brothers. They are from the Divine Palace. People in the distance looked at them and talked with each other excited. Now that the information about Yi Tianyu's cultivation had been made public, It was no longer a secret where these people came from. They all came from other supreme realms, and they were all extraordinary figures. In that direction, a melody of the ancient zither came. It had strong penetrating power, and flew into people's ears, making them fully enter the mood of the zither music, which was an extremely beautiful scene. The restaurant was very quiet at this moment. People tasted the wine and listened to the tunes, quite relaxed and content. The man who played the zither was handsome. He had an outstanding bearing. When he played the zither with 2 hands, he had an indescribable chic aura about him. The melody of the zither gradually shifted from soothing to intense, as if depicting a scene on the battlefield where there were countless metallic weapons and iron horses, and soldiers who had the spirit to conquer thousands of miles of sky. His potent spirit rushed into the sky, as if he wanted to compete with heaven to see who was taller. The melody made people in the distance feel their blood boiling, agitated. He had not released his music magic yet, but his performance alone still had such a strong influence. For a long time, the music became peaceful again until it stopped. The music ended, and everyone in the restaurant seemed to wake up from the enchantment. One of them laughed and said, "Good, brother. Your mastery of music has gotten the pith of Uncle Master's skills. Few people in the Divine Palace can compare with you." A person smiled and praised. Everyone nodded. "No wonder you are the heir of the Divine Music Palace. Among my contemporaries in the Heavenly Mandate realm, no one is comparable to you," Etienne also commented. The young man looked calm and didn't show emotions. He put his hands down, looked up at Etienne, said, "However, someone has unraveled my divine sound skill." "Is the man who cracked the divine sound skill proficient in music?" a young man asked. Etienne shook his head. "The man has excellent talent, but he has not shown any musical accomplishments before. The reason why he could crack the divine sound skill was because of his restraint in cultivation methods. The celestial gate of vast heaven has extraordinary mystical ways. If you had been present, it had not been cracked. A person ignorant of music could break the divine sound skill. He indeed has something unusual. I never expected that there would be someone in the Heavenly Mandate realm who could compete with you, elder brother. You must be extremely extraordinary," the young man continued. There were direct disciples and ordinary disciples of 2 types in the Divine Palace. These people were all direct disciples of the Divine Palace, whose names could be engraved on the steel of Divine Palace disciples, which recorded these disciples' life histories. Every one of them must be super talented. Otherwise, they would be demoted to ordinary disciples. And these people were all direct disciples. Among these direct disciples, Etienne was also an outstanding one, standing at the top of the ranks. Not many people could compare with him. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. In Brahma Sky City, more and more warriors had arrived. In Brahma Sky City, more and more warriors had arrived. Futian and his companions from the celestial gate of vast heaven had also reached and found a place to stay in Brahma Sky City. This time, except for Gu Donglu, the talented figures of the young generation in the celestial gate of vast heaven were almost all here. Jiang Taichu of the Jiang clan, Hua Qingyan of the Hua clan, and Wang Yambing of the Wang. These 3 most prestigious warriors of the celestial gate of vast heaven set foot in Brahma Sky City. In addition to them, there was also Futian, Wuxia and others. Yu Sheng was cultivating in the Dragon God clan of the Demon Realm, so he couldn't come with them. However, this time, there were also many top figures from the Demon Realm. The Heavenly Mandate realm would change, so now both humans and demon beasts had allowed the entrance of the other side and started to communicate with each other. Last time, human cultivators had entered the origin mountains of the Demon Realm, and since then, the demon cultivators of the top forces also had set foot in the human cultivation world from time to time. They must ascertain what level of strength human cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate realm had. After Futian arrived, warriors of the Dragon God clan came to visit. Futian met them in person And he also wanted to know how Yu Sheng's cultivation was going in the Dragon God clan. Yi Futian is here to salute you, sir, he said. The head of the Dragon God clan was a dragon emperor with very unusual temperament. When he stood there, he looked tall and majestic. Next to him was the most talented figure of this generation in the Dragon God clan, Long Chun. Long Chun was an overbearing divine dragon of Nirvana Plane, and he was a mutant of the royal purple gold dragon clan, the direct bloodline of the Dragon God clan. This kind of mutant was extremely rare in the Dragon God clan, and only one case could appear every generation. Besides, a new mutant would show up only after the mutant of the previous generation passed away. This situation was extremely weird, and some people speculated that the mutation was too powerful and was envied by heaven, so only one case would be allowed to happen every generation. Long Chun was a mutant that had shown up many years. He didn't go to the Violet Heavenly Palace last time, but this time, he officially came into the public eye and represented the Dragon God clan. Many years ago, the Dragon God royal family was called the Purple Gold Dragon royal family, but later, a top figure of the Dragon God clan mutated due to his cultivation. Mutation happened in the Dragon God royal family, and that mutated figure vanquished all warriors of the Dragon God clan in his peak period and defeated the old king. Soon, he was conferred as the new king of the Dragon God clan. This mutation was an evolution of bloodline. Since then, whenever a new mutant showed up in the Dragon Divine clan, he would be considered as the successor of the king of Dragon God clan, and such a mutant was called the Purple Blood Divine Dragon in the Dragon God clan. Long Chun was such a purple blood divine dragon. One could imagine how prestigious he was. Not long ago, the Dragon God clan brought back a human cultivator who woke up the demon dragon. He had been silent for many years and caused the demon dragon to roar so loudly that the sky trembled and the dragon abyss shook. Since then, the demon dragon began to advise the human in cultivation. In this regard, warriors of the Dragon God clan speculated that the demon dragon might have encountered a very rare talent of demonic laws, who was beyond his expectations, causing such a strong response. Yu Sheng, the rising star in the Violet Heavenly Palace, was likely to be underestimated. At that time, Yi Futian claimed that Yu Sheng's strength was unparalleled, but all the people present at that time were top figures in the Heavenly Mandate realm. Although they acknowledged the power of Yu Sheng, no one really thought that Yu Sheng's power was invincible. The roar of the demon dragon shook the Dragon God clan. Everything that happened in the Heavenly Mandate realm recently gave the Dragon God clan the hunch that the future would change. After Long Chun completed his cultivation, he also officially stepped out of the Dragon God clan and came to the human cultivation world. At this time, Long Chun was looking at Yi Futian and Jiang Taichu. He had heard of Jiang Taichu when he was in the Dragon God clan a long time ago, but Yi Futian had only gained fame recently and was a bit hit in the Heavenly Mandate realm now. This human cultivator had been given very high praise, and many people even thought that he would become one of the giants in the Heavenly Mandate realm if he didn't die. "You're welcome." Beside him, the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon God clan said to Yi Futian, "I am here today to tell you news about Yu Sheng. He is now cultivating in the Dragon Abyss, the ancestral land of the Dragon God clan, and is being guided by a big figure of our Dragon God clan. You don't need to worry about him." "Yes," Yi Futian nodded and said, "since the Dragon God clan took him there in person, I have nothing to worry about." He let Yu Sheng go because he knew that as long as the Dragon God clan had the intention to help, Yu Sheng, with his domineering skills, would definitely attract their attention. Now the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon God clan came here in person to inform him, which meant the Dragon God clan warrior, who was teaching Yu Sheng, must be an important person with special status in the Dragon God clan. However, warriors of the Dragon God clan would not tell Yi Futian that the demon dragon had committed crimes and was imprisoned in the forbidden area of the Dragon God clan. He had not been executed because the Dragon God clan showed mercy, and so far, he was still a taboo to society. He could only be kept imprisoned in the Dragon Abyss, and perhaps he would be there forever. This is Long Chun of our Dragon God clan, the Dragon Emperor introduced. Jiang Taichu and Hua Qingyan had been guessing the identity of the young man, but they were still slightly shocked when they heard his name. Was this the legendary Purple Blood royal family successor? It had been hundreds of years since the death of that Purple Blood Dragon Emperor. The Purple Blood royal family was the hereditary royal family of the Dragon God clan. They were above all other dragons of the Dragon God clan, and were born to be kings. Wang Yambing delivered his voice to Yi Futian to explain the origin of the Purple Blood royal family. Yi Futian also felt slightly surprised. Now the top figures that had hidden in the heavenly mandate realm were all coming out. I am Yi Futian, Yi Futian said, slightly cupping his hands toward Long Yen. I have heard about you for a long time, Long Chun said, slightly bowing his head to Yi Futian. Long Chun looked tall and extremely burly. Although he had been in the Dragon God clan, he still knew something about the changes in the heavenly mandate realm, especially with what had happened in the Origin Mountains. If the head had not dissuaded him for fear that something in the Origin Mountains might affect his safety, he would have been there. For the Dragon God clan, the safety of Long Chun was the first priority. He owned the rare generational inheritance, and was born to be the Dragon King, so the Dragon God clan didn't dare to take it lightly. In the demon realm, the status of Long Chun and Jun of the Demon Sky Court was basically similar to the status of Crown Prince Yi Tianyu of the Heavenly Mandate Dynasty and Gu Donglu of the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven. I am flattered, Yi Futian replied. With regard to Plane, Long Chun was of Nirvana Saint Plane, and Yi Futian should address him as an elder. Let's go in and sit down, a warrior of the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven suggested. No need. We just came here to tell you news about Yu Sheng, and we should leave now, the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon God clan said, and then bid farewell. Warriors of the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven did not ask them to stay and saw them out. The Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven was willing to make friends with the Dragon God clan, but now the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven was at the center of the storm, so the Dragon God clan might not be glad to be directly involved in it. They were willing to teach Yu Sheng, but it was completely different from the issue with the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven, and Yi Futian knew this clearly. What was more, at that time, in the Origin Mountains, Gu Tianxing wanted to create a new king for the demon realm. But perhaps Long Chun was not convinced, so they could even be potential rivals. Brahma's Pure Sky requests to visit. Someone came to report after Long Chun left, which made the people of the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven quite surprised. Please let them in, warriors of the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven said. Soon a group of gorgeous figures came in. This time, the visitors from the Brahma's Pure Sky were all young and beautiful ladies, with no Renhuang figures. And the person who led the group was Genie Saintess of Brahma's Pure Sky, whom Yi Futian had seen before. Genie is here to salute elders of the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven. The Genie Saintess slightly bowed and said, What brings Saintess here today? Asked a Renhuang figure of the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven. Genie came to inform elders that after 7 days, the Brahma's Pure Sky Saintess Qin, he will lead all saintesses to set up the Xiantian Matrix in the Xiantian Pavilion of Brahma Sky City, and welcome a challenge from warriors of the Heavenly Mandate Realm, Genie said. People of the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven showed surprise. Would the Brahma's Pure Sky's first maiden Qin he show up in person? And this time, she would directly test all cultivators' strengths. Qin he would lead all the saintesses of the Brahma's Pure Sky to arrange a battle matrix. Okay, I see. The Renhuang of the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven said, nodding slightly. Saintess Genie looked up toward them, her eyes fixed on Yi Futian. She said softly, Mr. Yi must go this time. Yi Futian froze, and his eyes revealed a strange look. Everyone turned around and looked at him. In fact, Saintess Genie did not need to remind him because he would have gone anyway, but her special request sounded very meaningful. You can rest assured that I will be there, Yi Futian said and nodded. Thank you. Then, I can go back and report my task, Genie said and nodded with a smile. Then she requested to leave and went away. After she left, everyone looked at Yi Futian. It seems you felt right, Xia Qingyuan said. Apparently, She was referring to what they talked about last time. This event was probably because of Yi Futian. Now, the Saintess Genie of Brahma's pure sky requested Yi Futian in person. Obviously, there must be a deeper meaning. Yi Futian looked at Xiao Qingyuan and said, "Although it feels right, it is not as simple as you think." Now he had no idea what was hidden behind this thing. He felt as though he were in a mist. If it was understood on the surface, this time, the Brahma's pure sky might want to choose a spiritual partner for Qin He. Qin He admired Yi Futian, but in fact, was it really so? Maybe not. Soon, top forces had all received the invitation from the saintesses of Brahma's pure sky. Suddenly, countless people in Brahma Sky City were discussing this matter. This time, the Saintess Qin He of Brahma's pure sky personally led cultivators of Brahma's pure sky to challenge cultivators of all forces from the heavenly mandate realm. If so, everyone could then see what levels those young cultivators of the top forces were at. Since Qin He, the Saintess of Brahma's pure sky, would be the one to lead people to arrange the Xiantian matrix, it was obviously impossible for one single person to enter and challenge them. Qin He, as the first maiden, was prominent and extremely powerful. If she was in charge of the matrix, who could break it? This time, obviously, she meant to test the overall strength of young generations of the top forces. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.